What if the ground beneath your feet could whisper secrets, not of gold or glory, but of heartbreak? Deep in the ruins of Pompeii, yes, that Pompeii, archaeologists are peeling back layers of ash, uncovering stories that time tried to bury. But instead of shiny treasures, they're finding something far more chilling, moments frozen at the edge of disaster. You ever think about how a single heartbeat can echo for thousands of years? Because what they've found doesn't just tell us about the past, it feels like it reaches out and grabs you. This isn't just history. It's tragedy set in stone. So, ready to uncover the 20 most heartbreaking discoveries archaeologists have ever made? Fair warning, it's not all ancient artifacts and museum pieces. Some of these finds might just haunt you. Which one will hit you the hardest? Let's find out. Imagine waking up in total darkness. You can't move. You can't breathe. And the walls around you? Solid wood. That's not the start of a horror movie. It's the real-life nightmare archaeologists believe happened to a young woman in ancient China. She was just 25, a new mother recovering from childbirth. But something went wrong. Her placenta wasn't fully expelled, causing internal bleeding. Her family, thinking she had passed away, rushed to bury her in keeping with tradition. But here's the horror. They were wrong. She wasn't dead. When researchers found her body, it wasn't peacefully laid to rest. Her limbs were twisted, her eyes still wide with terror. The coffin was too small to sit up in, so she fought lying down. Scratch marks lined the wood. Her fingers were fractured, her nails broken, the cloth lining torn apart. Every detail screamed one thing: she woke up underground. Alive. As her body struggled, the placenta finally detached, causing even more internal damage. Her cries? Muffled by thick wood and dirt. No one heard. No one came. And in that terrifying silence, she died all over again. This time, for real. Think that's the worst way to go? Just wait. What's coming next is even more disturbing. Death is supposed to be the end. But what if it wasn't? In a quiet grave in Imola, Italy, archaeologists stumbled upon something that sent chills down their spines. Buried in the 7th or 8th century, a woman, 38 weeks pregnant, was laid to rest. But when her remains were unearthed in 2002, they found something heartbreaking near her legs: the tiny, fragile bones of a newborn. She had given birth after she died. It's a phenomenon so rare and disturbing it has a name: coffin birth. After death, gases can build inside the body, creating enough pressure to push a baby from the womb. It's not horror fiction. It's biology at its most haunting. But there's another twist. Her skull had a small hole, a sign of trepanation, an ancient and brutal surgery where part of the skull is cut open, often to relieve pressure or treat seizures. Was it a last desperate attempt to save her and her baby? Or a doomed ritual? Either way, it didn't work. She died. But her body kept reacting, even in death. And the result was a silent, post-mortem birth inside the coffin. Chilling, right? If you think this is where it hits rock bottom, the next discovery is a brutal reminder that sometimes nature doesn't just take life, it buries it in ways we can barely comprehend. Beneath the rolling green hills of Dorset, England, archaeologists expected soil, maybe a few broken pots. What they found instead? A battlefield's worth of bones, and not just any bones. In 2009, a mass grave was unearthed, filled with 54 headless Viking warriors. But this wasn't chaos. It was deliberate. Bodies in one pit, heads in another, as if someone had taken the time to separate them. The eerie organization suggests this wasn't a battlefield massacre, it was an execution. These men were young, strong, warriors in their prime, likely mercenaries. But instead of dying in combat, they were captured. And then systematically beheaded. Not from behind like in a scuffle. From the front. Clean, calculated cuts, possibly ritualistic. Like it was meant to send a message. Some historians believe this site ties into the St. Brice's Day massacre of 1002, when King Athelred the Unready ordered the killing of all Danes in England. If that's true, this grave isn't just tragic, it's political. But the real mystery? Why were their remains arranged like this? Who performed the killings? And why go to such chilling lengths to stage it so precisely? We may never know what these Vikings did, or if they were simply caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. And just when you think history couldn't get darker, we head into the next tale, where fear didn't just kill, it turned places of worship into prisons. You'd never guess the most horrifying discovery wasn't buried in some grand tomb or ancient battlefield, but deep in a Roman sewer. In Ashkelon, Israel, archaeologists were just poking around beneath an old bathhouse, probably expecting broken pottery, maybe a coin or two. But what they found was bone-chilling. Literally. Tiny bones. Dozens of them. As they cleared the grime, the truth hit like a punch to the gut. These weren't animal remains. They were newborn babies. Nearly 100, discarded beneath the city like trash. At first, researchers thought it might have been due to the tragic preference for male children back then. But nope, DNA tests revealed something even more disturbing. Many of the infants were boys, the very children ancient Romans were known to prize. So why? One theory takes a dark turn. The bathhouse above may have doubled as a brothel. If that's true, these babies could have been the result of unwanted pregnancies, born in secrecy, then discarded without a name, without a chance. It's a haunting thought, tiny lives flushed away beneath the feet of a bustling Roman city. And just when you think it can't get darker, the next discovery will make this one look almost merciful. Ready? Some disasters leave ruins. Others freeze time. When Mount Vesuvius exploded, Pompeii wasn't just destroyed, it was entombed. In mere hours, an entire city full of life, laughter, and love vanished beneath a blanket of ash. But what it left behind? That's what truly haunts us. Forget Hollywood's versions. No movie, no novel can match what archaeologists have uncovered with their own hands. In 2020, just outside Pompeii's ruins, they made a chilling discovery. A villa, half survived the first eruption, only to be swallowed by the second. Inside were two figures, one draped in fine robes, the other in simple garments. A wealthy man and his slave. Their final moments caught mid-struggle, muscles locked tight from thermal shock. Their hands were clenched. Their bodies twisted. It looked like they were trying to run, or maybe praying they were safe. But Vesuvius had other plans. And they're not alone. All across Pompeii, ash-preserved bodies tell the same heartbreaking tale. Families huddled together, lovers embracing, citizens caught mid-step, unaware that this would be their final breath. Even the Roman poet Pliny the Younger was shaken, describing the day as if the gods themselves were angry. Pompeii may have been buried, but its stories scream from the silence. And now we leave the ash-covered streets behind and head into the mountains, where something even colder, even darker, was uncovered. At nearly 20,000 feet above sea level, where the air is thin and time stands still, a secret slept beneath the icy peaks of the Andes, until the mountain finally gave it up. Archaeologists digging near the summit of Uyayaka stumbled upon something that stopped them cold. 3 children, perfectly preserved, as if they'd only just closed their eyes. But this wasn't nature's doing. This was ritual. They were Inca sacrifices, part of a sacred ceremony called capicocha, meant to honor the gods during times of crisis. But here's the haunting part. These kids weren't buried after death, they were buried alive. To the Incas, children were seen as pure, their souls worthy of divine elevation. So before the final climb, the young ones were given coca leaves and chicha, a fermented corn alcohol, to sedate them. The drugs in their system made them docile, compliant. And when the moment came, they were gently placed in stone tombs, high above the world, meant to become messengers to the gods. The oldest, known as La Doncella, the maiden, was just 15. She sat cross-legged, head bowed, hair braided, wrapped in ceremonial clothing that still clings to her body to this day. Alongside her, a young boy and girl, barely 6 or 7. Their skin, their clothes, even the expressions on their faces, still untouched by time. This wasn't a brutal death. It was cold, quiet, and deeply spiritual, but no less heartbreaking. Their sacrifice was meant to protect a civilization. But centuries later, it tells a much different story, of innocence, faith, and a farewell frozen forever. And if that left a lump in your throat, what's coming next might leave you speechless. Sometimes, the quietest voices from the past echo the loudest, and none more hauntingly than the Ice Princess of Siberia. In 1993, deep in the frozen Altai Mountains, archaeologists opened a burial chamber sealed shut for over 2,000 years. What they found inside was like stepping into another world. An ancient woman, perfectly preserved by the ice, lying in eternal silence. But this wasn't just any burial. She rested in a coffin carved from a single larch tree, wrapped in richly decorated fabrics, and surrounded by offerings, tables of food, drink, and even her horses, everything she'd need for the afterlife. Leather carvings of sacred deer adorned her tomb, hinting at her spiritual significance. This wasn't a warrior. She wasn't royalty. Yet the care taken in her burial was profound. Historians believe she may have been a priestess or healer, someone revered by her people, the prehistoric culture of the Siberian steppe. But her story takes a tragic turn. In 2014, scans revealed a heartbreaking truth. She likely died from breast cancer, worsened by a severe fall that may have left her in pain during her final days. She was only in her early 30s. And yet, she left behind a legacy more powerful than any written record. Her tattoos, beautifully preserved, are among the oldest known, and her tomb has revealed priceless insights into a culture that time nearly erased. Her body may be still, but her story? It keeps whispering across the ice. And now, we descend from the cold silence of Siberia straight into the chaos of a warrior's grave, where headless soldiers await. If the eternal kiss left you with a heavy heart, brace yourself. The pit of bones will send chills racing down your spine. Deep beneath the ancient soil of Spain's Atapuerca Mountains lies a mystery that's been buried for over 400,000 years. In 1987, archaeologists began their excavation, expecting to find typical cave remnants. But what they uncovered was anything but ordinary. A vast collection of bones belonging to at least 28 individuals, the remnants of some of the earliest humans in Europe. But it gets even darker. As researchers painstakingly pieced together the skull of one individual, they made a shocking discovery. This person hadn't met a natural end. No, they had been brutally murdered, struck multiple times with a blunt object, possibly a stone axe. The deep fractures in the skull told a grim tale of violence, suggesting that life was a fierce battle for survival, even among our earliest ancestors. Over the years, archaeologists have reconstructed the partial skulls of at least 20 individuals from this haunting site. Many show clear signs of trauma, with fractures revealing a brutal reality. Life in this prehistoric world was riddled with danger and bloodshed. The findings from the pit of bones challenge our understanding of early human behavior, indicating that survival sometimes came at the cost of one's fellow humans. And from the depths of this chilling discovery, we now turn to another dark chapter in history, uncovering one of the earliest forms of warfare. In the quiet town of Aberdeen, Scotland, one building hides a history darker than any ghost story. St. Mary's Chapel, once a peaceful place of worship, became something far more sinister, a prison for witches. Back in the 16th century, fear ran wild. People believed witches could curse crops, sicken livestock, and even steal the breath of children. And in 1597 alone, during the infamous Great Scottish Witch Hunt, 31 people were put on trial in this very town. But here's the chilling twist: they were held inside a church. St. Mary's wasn't a sanctuary anymore. It was a cage. Inside its cold stone walls, accused women were chained to a 2-inch iron ring embedded in the wall, unable to sit, stand properly, or move freely. Some of them had probably prayed there once. Now it was their prison. Paranoia gripped the people. Neighbors turned on neighbors. Accusations came fast and proof? Barely needed. Folks believed that even behind iron shackles, these women could whisper spells through the cracks in the chapel walls. This wasn't justice, it was mass hysteria with a crucifix. A place built for peace twisted into a symbol of fear. And that's where we'll leave this chapter. But trust me, what we uncover next, it'll take disturbing to a whole new level. Beneath the dust of history lies a chilling truth. Ancient battles weren't just fought with swords and shields, they involved something much more insidious. In 1933, while excavating the ancient city of Duryuropos in Syria, archaeologist Robert du Mesnil du Buisson uncovered a shocking scene. Deep in the tunnels, he found the remains of 19 Roman soldiers, their bodies scattered as if they had died in a moment of sheer panic. They looked as if they were trying to flee from an unseen horror. But what could have caused such chaos? At the tunnel's end lay a lone Persian soldier, clutching his armor in his final moments, frozen in fear. What could have terrified both sides so profoundly? As du Mesnil dug deeper, he discovered traces of sulfur and bitumen on the walls, elements that hinted at a sinister strategy. This wasn't just a typical battle, it was a calculated act of chemical warfare. Further research by archaeologist Simon James confirmed the grim reality. The Persians had unleashed toxic sulfurous gases into the tunnels, creating a suffocating nightmare for the trapped Roman soldiers. There was no escape. Their deaths were swift, brutal, and terrifying. This discovery marks one of the earliest recorded instances of chemical warfare, showcasing the lengths ancient civilizations would go to for victory. As unsettling as that revelation is, our next find is even more haunting, unearthing the frozen remains of a woman who holds many secrets from a long-forgotten past.